you really can't overstate the core mechanics of the game not working correctly, and you can't really overstate how bad it is that they don't know and that they're not doing anything to fix it. Like, I don't think you can overstate those facts, really. So, you know, when people say stuff like, "Oh, ESO is a dead game" or whatever, you know, it's not a dead game, but like this is the reason, and their anger at it is completely valid. So our goal with this update is to focus mainly on the following: improving the experience of status effects, making damage shields slightly more interactive with the major minor system, improving taunts visibility and readability, and targeting some underloved playstyles and abilities to shake up the functionality and visuals. And we need to talk about taunts. And this is another situation where people have asked me, like, this is another thing that this is pretty blatant, that shows that they don't understand the game, they don't understand the player base, and they don't understand the problem. So what they set up here, scroll up a little bit, is said they want to improve taunts visibility and readability. As a tank main and someone who helps a lot of new tanks, I can tell you that tanks visibility and readability is not an issue. The issue, and Miles, you know this, Clash, you know this, I know this, anybody who plays the game a lot knows this. The issue is that taunt doesn't work a lot of the times. It just plain doesn't work. It just doesn't. And so the issue is not visibility, it's not readability. The issue is taunt just not working. And honestly, right now, the other problem is that dodge roll is working worse than it ever has. And blocking is working worse than it ever has. I have had friends who have sent me 30-second videos of them holding block and block not working. Multiple videos. I've shown some. We've all seen it, those who have been in the end game. And if you're new, you don't realize these things are happening. You just realize you died. You think you did something wrong. But when you're trying to like play the game at a very high level and do these no death speed runs like you guys do, where you're running through and it takes 20 minutes to go through, and you practice, you've gone over and over again, and then you waste the run. You finally get the run that you're going to get the no death on, and you're holding block, and you get one shot through block because it's not actually working or applied. Or I
had two of those things happen yesterday afternoon. We had one trash pull where I taunted a big ad, and it just immediately went and smacked someone else, and I was like, I didn't even light attack. The only button I've pressed is taunt, so that's how so it didn't work. And then same thing, the mini on Oaks. Just I'm like, I've got full stam. I'm sitting there. I know I'm just blocking. I'm calling out to all the DDs, block. The minis, heavies coming in, and then it just one shots me, and I'm like,
well, and also
I'm standing here holding block, whatever.
Yeah.
And the taunt you had on the mini the other day that just whacked me. Your only move, it just came in. Your only thing was, hey, I taunted it. You just said, hey, I taunted it. It just turns to me. And I was a DD. He was a tank at the time. And it just whacks me. And you hear...
and then immediately just walks right over to me.
I actually, Nani, who's in chat right now, I did a video where I was like, global warming is coming to ESO, because I use frost clinch, and it hits the guy, and I assume it must have melted along the way, because it just walked over and one shots her. She's raid leading, so she's like, hey, can you knight? You gonna taunt this? And it also makes really bad situations. We know that it happens. I mean, actually, I clipped you, Miles, the other I did a short with Miles being like, bloody hell, or whatever you said. And on my screen I'm out of an AoE and I blew up and killed 5 people or whatever, and it was like, for everybody else, it's just frustrating when the game you can't play the game. It doesn't work right. Yeah. So like this idea of like, oh, we're going to make taunt more visible. They need to make taunt work correctly. They need to make blocking and roll dodging work.
I mean, honestly, when I saw that pop up in the patch notes, like what they were talking about, I literally was like, whatever, and just like kind of scrolled past it. I was like, it doesn't sound useful at all. I was like, I never have issues with like over taunting or like taunt immunity or anything like that.
No,
it's like they changed it a while back, so it's like you have to taunt like 5 or 6 times.
Yeah, 5
in
times.
Like a 7-second period. It's like it never happens.
Yeah, you have to try to do that.
It's not an issue. Yeah, I was like, it's not an issue. I literally didn't even bother like paying. I like skimmed through it and was like, okay, sounds like they've done something to improve that. But
Yeah, to me, it's like
not an
they
issue.
heard people were complaining. They didn't understand the problem again because they don't play the game, and then they tried to fix a problem that's not really a problem instead of addressing. The other thing is if you taunt on one bar, so if you use Frost Clench, and you wouldn't experience this most of the time because I assume you almost always double Ice Staff tank, right, Miles? Yeah. So if you taunt with an Ice Staff and then you bar swap and stab with Pierce Armor, that actually counts as 2 taunts. And that's a bug from last patch where they made these changes. So if you're a beginning player playing with another beginning player, you could, if you screw up, you can actually over taunt because you might range you range taunt and then you want to apply major and minor breach, so you stab, you do pierce armor, and there's a world where you can do that. But it's weird that you're over taunting the same ad, but it doesn't do it if you just use the same taunt. So anyways.
Yeah. Someone was explaining to me the other day that one of the conditions that makes the Frost Clench taunt also just not work is that like if 2 people use Frost Clench at the same time, one of them like doesn't register. So like when you're going into like an ad pool and both tanks like hit Frost Clench, if they hit like at the exact same time on like 2 different ads,
they just won't
one ad
register.
just doesn't get
I've also
that was like someone was explaining that was the issue. I was like, look, I don't know what the issue is. I just know that
it doesn't work.
Maybe 10% of the time.
Is that like a server reading thing? It's reading it as a double tick of 1, and then it's I don't know what that is.
Literally, it's like 1 in every 20 or 1 in every somewhere around 1 in every 20 of those taunts just doesn't work, and you're like, well, sometimes because of it every time.
Well, in new tanks they get yelled at. People are like think they're bad and it's like no fault of their. And tanking already is hard and difficult, and it sucks whenever you mess up and wipe the group anyways. And so now you're wiping the group through no fault of your own, and it's hard to overstate. You really can't overstate the core mechanics of the game not working correctly, and you can't really overstate how bad it is that they don't know and that they're not doing anything to fix it. Like, I don't think you can overstate those facts, really. So, when people say stuff like, "Oh, ESO is a dead game" or whatever, it's not a dead game, but like this is the reason, and their anger at it is completely valid.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
100%.
All right. That part. I'm going to clip that, and maybe I'm just going to like tag Finn on X, and maybe they'll hear us. I don't know.
Fingers crossed. I wonder if like they're aware of what makes it not work, or if it's a mystery thing with that. We don't really know why it doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean that's another thing, the communication. But that I wish they would just communicate with us, because if they told us like, "Hey, we know it's a problem. We're working to fix it," that would be so much better to me than to just not say anything. I don't know, since it's only
honestly.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, sometimes I feel like I'm almost like gaslighting myself, because I'll be like, I have to go back and watch the VOD to double check, and I'm like, no, 100%, I've taunted it, it's gone out. There's been times where I've actually gone and checked logs, and I've seen like, nope, Frost Clench has been cast at this time, and then the ad has hit someone else 2 seconds later. And I'm like, it definitely went out. The game knows I cast it. I can see it.
Well,
it just didn't actually have the effect it's supposed to have.
Yeah, and I've seen it too, because I go back and when I did my Rockgrove guide almost 2 years ago, I went back and I'm looking through video and I see where I taunt the Atro, and then I see it run over and kill someone, and it's like, if I wouldn't have been watching this video in like 1/10 speed and watch the taunt fly through the air, you would have no idea. But and I know people have sent in all these things too, so there's also like kind of a communication issue, but of some sort. Arcanist.
Well, and as Arcanist, one more thing before we move on, as a just devil's advocate here, I do know that there are some things where like it's just spaghetti code, and it was coded in from when the game was released, and they're trying to get through all this stuff, but these are done by people who put in this code like years and years ago, and trying to sift through this stuff while creating this new content for us becomes quite intensive and painful. So I understand a little bit it taking a while. I just, like you said, I would like a little communication. Be like, hey guys, I know this hasn't been working right all the time. We're working on it. This may take a while, and then just pop up every now and then. Hey, we haven't forgot about you. Just so you know, we're working on it. Just that small amount of communication would make me a lot less critical of some of the devs and how I feel about these things not working.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you look at other community, usually they're called community teams in other games work. Like I would compare it to like, I mean, if you want to go look at something that's amazing, Ashes of Creation. Ashes of Creation once a month does a live stream, and they're just in development. And they do a live stream, and then you can join their Discord, and you can drop comments through YouTube. You can drop them in Discord while you're watching the live stream with other people. You can drop them on their forum pages. You can drop them a bunch of, and their community team goes and finds those things, and they'll go, and then the game director will answer them in like 30 minutes at the end of the stream.
I actually remember, I think it was Division 1, which had its own problems, but I remember they did like there was like 3 people that were obviously employed by Ubisoft that did, it was like a weekly 1 hour, like state of the game podcast where they like sit down and people could like chime in and put their little comments in, and they would just discuss the things that the dev team was doing. And it's like why not? It's a nice little, then like everyone knows kind of what's happening, and you don't get like as frustrated by the bugs because you can relate or you understand the situation a bit more.
Yeah, you know where they're coming from.
I mean, even if they're just lying to me, lie to me.
Yeah.
Make me feel better.
Yeah.
Lie to me.
Well, that's also the issue too. Is like there's a trust thing, right? So with and this is again as someone who's played ESO for a long time. So with ESO, they told us for the longest time that we said, hey, there's a problem, especially with PvP, with the servers. And they were like, no, it's not the servers. And they told us it wasn't the servers, and it wasn't the servers, it wasn't the servers. And everyone's like, it's the servers, it's servers, it's servers. Well, this, like a month ago, the end of the year, is it game director? I forget who it was. It's not Rich, whoever his boss is. So is that game director? I forget the title. Whatever. He came out and said, hey, we've the servers have really improved performance and whatever. And it's like, wait, you told us for years the servers weren't the problem, and now you're like bragging about how like, hey, look how great we are. We fixed the servers, and that's improved performance. So it's like, oh, so you were just lying to us or gaslighting us.
Someone said that actually a couple days ago. We were talking about it. We were talking about exactly like that sort of thing with the servers being dodgy, and someone brought up that one of the reasons they changed all of the one of their reasons for changing all of the frequency of ticks for hots and dots was that they're like, oh, it's too much of a load on the server, ticking every second. But then they introduced Arcanist Heal and Damage Beam, which tick like 3 or 4 times
a second. Yeah.
You're like, okay, so that doesn't make any sense now.
There's definitely some issues with that, and I've been very critical of their community team in the way that ZeniMax just in general addresses things. Their community team is just marketing, which it is in most companies, but it's just marketing. Like there's no listening to player feedback that is appreciable. There is there's just very little of that. And again, if you just go out and look at other games and see what they do, you'll see a night and day difference. They're not doing live streams, and when they do, again, you have this issue where you're being lied to and you're being gaslit, and so their trust is broken. And it's just kind of a downhill roll from there.
And on that note,
yeah. There we go. Okay, Arcanist.
Yeah.
I heard Arcanists are dead now, and they're going to be useless, and we should all delete them.